All right, welcome to the Patriot Nation podcast. It is officially Throwback Week. The Patriots will be wearing their red throwbacks on Sunday against the Detroit Lions. We got a lot to get to, including some of the stuff from last week as well. But Matt, I mean, we're both wearing the jerseys. How excited are you to see them wearing that red Pat Patriot with the white helmet? Oh my goodness, it's going to look so good on Sunday.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. We're at almost a decade to the day. Last time they wore it was October of 2012. So I think we're at I think we're 1 week or 2 weeks short of a decade to the last time they wore them. That 29-26 overtime win over the Jets. I think
Look
it
at
was
that.
Nink forcing the fumble in that game.
Ooh, I remember that.
Yeah, to
Yep.
win the game. So I just love having them out there. It's a nice break from what they have. I don't want them to go red full time, but I like it as we're gonna do this 2 or 3 times a year. They got that red banner that I saw them show
Oh, it
inside the
looks so
stadium
good.
around the walls,
I love it.
and I love that they're bringing the old word mark back.
It looks
Patriots with the
so
little
good.
stripes and the stars on the inside. It's fantastic. I hope
Yeah.
they put that in the end zone. That better be in the end zone.
So season ticket holders used to be able to, not used to be able to, season ticket holders could vote on what they wanted. So like towels and what the words would look like around the stadium and what the door would look like when they open it, like the locker room door. And I was like, you have to, number one, you have to vote for the red. And number two, you have to vote for the old word mark because the old word mark is so cool. With the pate that, for those of you that don't know, it's the font with the stars in the middle of each letter. It looks awesome. I love it. So
Yeah, they opened that up for a general vote this year.
maybe it was a general vote. You're right. It wasn't season ticket holder. It was a general vote. You're right.
Yeah, because I know I voted in that. I do. I love the red. I think I voted for a little bit of blue in some cases too.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think maybe it was the. You know what? I think it was the door of the locker room. The blue looked cooler than the red. I think maybe you're right about that one.
yeah,
So
here,
either way.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously we know what won the field wrap there. So yeah, there's the field flags. All the options are blue with a Pat Patriot. One has the word mark, one has a stripe, one is plain with the year. They got the rally towels
Yep.
and the locker room design, red, white, and blue for those. So
So there you go.
we'll see what we get on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. Love those towels, man. Love them. Got one at the
What
Packers game on Sunday. It was great.
you might have to snag me an extra towel on
I
Sunday.
could probably pull that off. I grab like 6 of them when I go by because they're just handing them out. They're like, I don't care. They're like,
Oh
I'm like,
no.
can I take an extra one? Like, yeah, sure, take 3. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh
Will
yeah.
do.
Yeah. No, I know from my experience, especially like Providence basketball games too. I used to
Yeah.
know some of the people that would do that stuff. I just get there early and they got boxes and boxes. Just
Oh
go,
yeah.
can I grab like 3 or 4 this time? Like,
So I was when Barstool did the first game when they had the clown towels. I applied to be a guy who passed them out, and I got it. So I got a huge bag of them,
Mhm.
and so I like stuffed a bunch like in my car. And Portnoy was like, pass them all up. And I passed the majority of them, but I kept probably 10 on the
Yeah.
side just for people and stuff like that. And then I opened up that bag and people like rushed me in the
Oh my
parking lot. It
God.
was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was cool. But it was fun. But you had those towels. I think I still have one of those like in the packaging without opening it up or whatever. So uh,
It's a nice
it's
little,
kind of a funny little thing. You know what I mean?
I love
Just
that.
to have, I would never sell it, but just to kind of have it to say I was there or whatever, So,
Oh yeah.
um, but
That's awesome.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So one of the perks of being at these games, So
Yeah.
but yeah. So before we get into the Lions, I do want to just everyone knows I was in Green Bay last week. I talked about it on last week's show. If you haven't been out there, you have to go. You just have to get there. The stadium is incredible. And I was talking to Matt before, talking to you, Matt, before the show, and like Gillette has to do stadium tours. They have to. I did a stadium tour there. It was absolutely incredible. It was incredible, and it was like $40. They got us on the field. Now we didn't get on the field because you can't step on the field because it's grass. But like we got on the sideline, walked through the players' tunnel, like through the Green Bay Packers players' tunnel, which was dope, and then walked onto the field. It was sick. So just being there was really cool. And it was a 90-minute tour. But it was a 90-minute tour. I paid $40 and I got entrance to the Hall of Fame. And like, I was, you just do the math. The guy said they did 110 tours on Saturday. Our tour group was 29 people. So even if that's not a full tour, we said, okay, let's just say that that's a full tour, 29 people, 110 things at $40 a pop. You make $120,000 on a Saturday before the
That is
game.
not too shabby.
And so it's like, you'd be stupid not to do that. I wonder when the construction is done, if they'll do that right next year. Construction will be done next year before the season. I wonder if they'll start doing that, because like there's enough history at Gillette now where you got the 6 Super Bowls, you got the trophies, you got things like that. The hall is a good take. Like, just give those tours and have it be an extra, $40-$50 or something. It would be awesome. So that's what I would do, at least. So
Yeah, I think it's silly to miss out on an opportunity like that.
yeah,
And I know
100%.
too, I haven't gone to a lot of like ballparks and stuff. A lot of baseball parks offer tours, especially
Yeah,
the
Fenway
historic
does it.
ones. And
Yeah,
Gillette's not historic in the sense that it's old, but at this point, it's historic in the sense that a lot of cool stuff's happened there,
right.
and it's a well-known stadium, and everybody's played there.
Yeah,
Every team has some memory of that stadium.
100%.
So
It's
people,
probably
and
usually bad for most teams too.
yes, yes. I was on a Ravens podcast, Ravens Week, talking about I mentioned the construction going on, and I got the comment of, "Oh, well, they better make sure the all the radio communication actually works into the headsets this time."
Man, let me tell you something. I know the guy. I know a guy who's pretty high up over there. That radio stuff has nothing to do with the Patriots. That is run by the NFL, not run by the
Oh
Patriots. That's run
yeah.
by the NFL. All
I'll
those
just
conspiracy
I will
theories and stuff.
embrace the myths though. If teams
Of
are more
course,
scared to come into
absolutely,
Foxborough,
right,
if they're taking an extra 20 minutes every week to proof their equipment to make sure that nobody's tapping it or
right,
whatever, that's 20 minutes away from preparation. I'll take
right. Yeah, it's the old Mike Tomlin song. We were listening to Patriots radio broadcast. This is so good. It's so good.
it. Just play football. You can't. You're not winning. So
Yeah, exactly. So 2 other things. When I was at the game, I was sitting behind a 96-year-old woman who had been coming to the Packers her whole life. It was pretty cool. So that was pretty cool to talk to her and this and that. And she was there with her family, and which was fun. They were great people. All the people there were fantastic. There was one super drunk guy who was trying to start trouble with us, and we wouldn't have it. He was trying to give us crap, and we were just like laughing at him and whatever, going back and forth, like not really anything. Guy left in handcuffs. Like he went after someone else, and he wasn't having it, and so the cops saw him, and see you later. So he got what he deserved, but we didn't take the bait. I will say, however, I was outside in the parking lot before, and I kind of mentioned this before, but a few guys walk up. One of them was wearing a Hartford Whalers sweater. Another one's wearing a Bledsoe throwback. And I'm just like, we're just chatting and this and that. And he's like, I recognize your voice. He's like, I don't know why I recognize your voice. And I'm like, why? I don't know. I host the Patriots podcast. He's like, wait, I listen to that podcast. That's the podcast. That's my Patriots podcast I listen to. So Glenn, if you're out there listening, we appreciate you listening. Thanks, man. And it was nice meeting you over. And of course, then everyone else called me, I didn't call me double P or PP because podcaster Pat or whatever the rest of the time we were there, but it was fun. It was funny. And then of course I tell my wife when I get home and she's rolling her eyes like, Jesus, like come on, like you don't so,
ego's getting a bit too big.
Yeah, exactly. So but no, it was good. It was nice it's always good to meet people that enjoy the show. I wouldn't call them fans because that's weird. They're not my fans, but other Patriots fans and people that listen to the show. So we appreciate that. And yeah, that's it. That I think that wraps up the Green Bay trip. I will say, I feel like every trip you have like disagreements or things don't go right or like something goes wrong. There was not one thing that went wrong during our trip. Both flights.
The Patriots lost.
So. Well, other than that, but they played a great game. I mean, they played a great game. Like I just wanted them to be competitive. Like that was the only bad thing is they lost in overtime. Right? You're right, Matt. That's the one thing. But like both flights were on time. They didn't get bumped. We actually got to both airports early. The rental car was super easy. We hit 0 traffic. We drove for like 8 hours and didn't sit in traffic not once, not one time. All the food we had was fantastic. The Airbnb we stayed at was ridiculous. The seats in the stadium were unreal. The tailgate before was fantastic. The whole freaking trip was incredible. No one got any arguments. No one was pissed at each other. Like nothing. It was like the perfect trip. So
yeah, That might never happen again.
It might never happen again. No, it might never happen again. We'll go with the same 4 guys next year, maybe, and everyone will be hating each other, and we'll have like
You
delayed
end up
flights and
stuck.
all this crap.
Yeah,
It'll
you
be
end
a
up
mess.
stuck over in Baltimore for a night.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but for one trip, it was fantastic. So, but again, if you haven't been out to Green Bay, and the Patriots won't play there for another 8 years, probably. Although they might with the way that the new,
I'm not even gonna try to do the math on when
yeah,
we
no,
could
I'm
play
not.
there next before that 8-year
Yeah,
mark.
not doing
What is that?
But
2030? Oh my god, I'm gonna be 32 years old the next time they might play out there. That is
2030, 32. In 8 years, you'll be 32. Bro, shut up, man. Kidding me? Stop it.
I'll be. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so old at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, right. 6 years younger than I am right now, still. But nevertheless, but yeah, so that's but it was great. So if you get a chance to go out there, definitely do it because it was fantastic. So, but anyways, let's get into the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have
Another NFC North foe.
it's two back to back NFC North, which is kind of funny. As a matter of fact, someone said, what the hell team was it? It's played all 4 teams in the other division that they play in so far this year.
The Ravens. Oh, I don't know about NFC, AFC, but I know the Ravens have played every AFC East team.
That's right. The Ravens,
Yeah.
their first 4 games were all against AFC East teams, which seems stupid, but
And they were
whatever.
2-2.
Yeah, right. So should have won this week against Buffalo and they choked. But
Should
nevertheless,
have won against Miami and choked.
That's
too.
very true. That's very true. So
and they almost choked against us, but
yes.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things for me. This is my favorite stat, and going into this Lions game, I mean, my goodness, dude, the Lions are number 1 in points scored and number 32 in points allowed, and they're averaging 35 points a game and have a negative point differential this season. They're giving up 35.3. It's extremely close, but they're giving up 35.3 points per game. It is just incredible how bad their defense has been. So that's a good sign for the offense, who might be starting, I really hope they're not starting Mac Jones, but might be starting Bailey Zappi again. They're not going to start Garrett Gilbert, right? Like, there's no way they can start this kid, right?
If Garrett Gilbert is the starting quarterback on Sunday, either something has gone horribly wrong with Mac and Zappi, or Zappi is just really, really bad behind the scenes. But if he were that bad, they would have signed. He wouldn't have made the team. So
very true.
Yeah, they would have signed somebody else. They would have had somebody on the practice squad. So you gotta think this is Zappi's show on Sunday.
You would think so.
Although I think we saw some promising stuff from Mac today. I don't know if he's going to go this week, but the fact he looked better than I thought he'd be at this point.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
Me too. I just feel like and the argument, and you talked about this last week, that Brady missed only a week, right, with the high ankle sprain, and that was
like 3 separate times. Yeah,
right. Very true. But I do feel like the majority of those times were in the playoffs.
All 3 were. 2 were Super Bowls. 1 was the bye week.
Right. And so that's the thing for me, is you look at that and you say, okay, it's a playoff game. Of course Brady's going to play. Of course he's going to play. And, in the instance of the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter how bad it is. It's the last game of the season. You're not playing another game, right? No. This is
if
the
he gets
5th
hurt,
game.
You got months to,
Exactly. This is the 5th game of the season. There's 12 more games after this game. Like, I don't care if Mac is 75%. Don't put him out there. It doesn't make sense to do it.
And the big thing is it's all about re-injury. If they've cleared it and it's like he doesn't have a shot at re-injury, so it's just how much he can move and how much he can tolerate the pain, then it's up to Mac. But if there's any shot at re-injury, like, this is a Detroit defense that's been awful, a team that's 1-3 this year. They do have a good offense. This is not an easy game. Right. But if there's a game you have to pick to say, hey, we're not going to have our number 1 quarterback for it, the only other game you'd pick on the schedule, I think, is the game against the Bears in a few weeks. This is the NFC games don't count as much for standings because you're not going to have to really worry about tiebreakers for them. Early in the season, home game. If Mac is only going to miss 1 more week, this is just about the week you'd want it to be.
Yeah, and honestly, if you really want to be cautious about it, they go Lions, Jets, Bears. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, if you're ever going to miss 4 games, Obviously, the
No,
Packers game.
Lions, Browns, Bears, Jets.
Oh my lord! Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that's
Which
even
Browns, to be fair, Browns is Myles Garrett, so maybe we don't want to
right.
risk that.
Yeah,
But
right. So that's one of those things where you look at it and say like, okay, it's the Browns, it's the Bears, it's the Jets. Like they all suck. They all suck. Like let's be honest, the Browns suck. Like okay, like they stink. They're not good.
yeah,
And so it doesn't mean it's gonna be
well,
an easy game.
especially with Jacoby.
Correct. So that's the thing is like, and at this point, you're not winning the Super Bowl. You want to win. Of course you want to win. The Patriots want to win. We know Belichick wants to win. He's not tanking, but the future is more important than one game, right? And if
Yeah.
and keeping Mac healthy is important. He needs snaps. He needs to play the rest of the season. We want him to do that. But again, if that re-injury is going to be an issue, well, then it's kind of like let's just be cautious and kind of go from there. When I thought 6 weeks originally was kind of my thought process. Maybe it's only 3. Maybe we can cut that in half. I still think 2 would be aggressive.
Yeah.
Maybe he plays next week against the Browns, but I just don't know. I don't love it. I don't love rushing him back. So and then Brady always played. Brady always played through everything. He played 0-2 with with an AC joint sprain.
Yeah.
All season, right? But like I don't love that.
Well, and I think it's different with leg injuries, like ankle stuff, especially like high ankle stuff is stuff that really never goes away. Like
right.
to an extent, Mac's probably going to be dealing with this for the rest of the season, even
Correct.
when he's fully healthy and not even on the injury report. That's going to hurt a little bit.
Right.
So he'll have to suck it up and deal with it at some point. And I'm glad that he has that mentality. It's not like some other quarterbacks we've seen in New England who apparently would practice but not want to play on Sunday and not really give a heads up about that happening. So I like the effort there. I like that mentality.
No, wait a second. That doesn't sound like anyone I've ever heard of before. I just, oh baby.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the mentality. I don't want to rush him back. This team is good enough that you don't want to be overcautious either. The second he's cleared and he feels like he can come back, he should come back. This isn't Tua and what's going on in Miami. I trust New England's doctors more than I trust the doctors down there, first of all, and our coaching staff and all that. And I mean, it's an ankle injury, not a head one. There's no he can play once he's actually cleared. I do trust them on that. I don't think we need to be really putting this one under the microscope as much and saying, hey, let's make sure he's out the full 2 months to get this healed.
I agree. Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. So we'll see what that takes them. But I do think that the Lions pose some interesting problems. One thing before we get into the real breakdown, the whole Peter King, Ty Law thing was just weird to me. Like
this is what happened. I'm totally
this is like Jack Jones came out and said after the game, which we loved, right? We talked about this. I loved the swagger from Jack Jones talking about how it was great. I loved it. And then, Peter King is talking about how, well, he's saying that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't think about throwing outside to him. That's so stupid and he should shut up. And then Ty Law was like, no one on that defense should be talking. Nobody. That defense earned nothing. Shut up. And I'm like, really? I get it from Peter King. He's like an old crotchety dude. Yeah. I get that. But Ty Law was the swaggiest, cockiest guy in the league. And he's out here talking about Jack Jones, who, by the way, has already jumped multiple out routes already this year as a rookie. He's talking about him, shutting up about playing well and getting a pick 6 against Aaron Rodgers. I thought it was really a very old man yells at cloud moment from Ty Law, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, that's odd from him. Which, I mean, I trust his opinion on this. He's one of my all-time favorite Patriots. So I understand it in that Jack Jones is just a rookie and did not look good in the running game. And maybe you lose, you shouldn't be talking. I do get that part of it. But yeah, I just love the attitude from defensive backs in general. You got to play with that. Especially, it's a position where you're going to kind of get burnt more than you won't. It's inherent in it. So you got to have that chip on your shoulder. You got to have that attitude. If you don't, you're going to get eaten up.
100%. Yeah.
I love what I saw from Jack Jones. I was watching the film this week once the All 22 came out, which actually came out pretty promptly this week. So props to NFL on that one.
Nice work, NFL.
Not props to me looking for the Week 3 Lions film and finding that the Panther Saints film was there instead, and there is no Lions Vikings All 22 from Week 3 on the site.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, I was watching the game, and there's one play from Jack Jones. He's in the slot. No, it ends up being the slot because another receiver comes over and just like an overwrap from his guy. And he plays the man, but the entire time, he like blankets the receiver. The entire time he's watching Aaron Rodgers. In the second that Rodgers makes a move to throw, he jumps in front of the route. Rodgers wasn't even throwing to him. Rodgers was throwing to a different guy, but he's just sitting there waiting. Like it's so arrogant. It's so cocky. Like he has no interest in like playing the receiver. He's just watching the quarterback waiting for that ball to come out so he can make a play. And it's oh man, he's gonna be fun to watch. I can't wait to get more Jack Jones.
And look, he's this is part of the thing for me. You live and die with this sometimes, right? Trayvon Diggs got smoked a ton last year, but he also had a ton of picks and scored a bunch of touchdowns. So like, yeah, okay, you don't want him to get burned every play, but like, if you're getting interceptions and you're getting pick sixes, now those are big plays for your defense as well as, and so you have some of the give and take. Obviously, you don't want Jack Jones to be giving up the most yards out of any corner in the NFL, right? But like, yeah, you need some of that aggressiveness and you want someone with that swagger and some of that, playing with that fire that he has. He is going to have to prove against the running game. He is going to have to improve his tackling, right? Because, we saw a few times they just threw it to Dobbs and he just ran him over, right? Took him for a ride for 7-8 yards. He's 175 pounds. Like he isn't big.
Yeah.
And so some of that will come as he gets a little bit bigger and adds a little bit more bulk. But like, for right now, for what he is, I also saw him make a nice play on Aaron Jones where Jones came out and he went low and Jones had to try to jump over him and ended up, landed out of bounds. And so like, he's going to have his ups and downs,
Yeah, he makes the big plays. The other thing I'll say is that I liked him in some ways in coverage more than Trayvon Diggs because he wasn't really blowing coverages or anything like that. He was keeping good coverage while also looking for the ball, which is hard to do. It's impressive if you can get a guy like that. And I think this week, looking at this Lions offense, I think the key matchup here is going to be if the Patriots can stop the run at all. Because if they can, I have no confidence in Jared Goff to beat anybody. And I like if Jared Goff's throwing the ball, Pats are getting a pick, probably 2.
Now hold on, Matt. Jared Goff has been a part of 3 of the top 16 scoring games in NFL history, including last week was one of them.
So there's that one.
There's that one.
Rams. Was the other one that Rams Vikings Thursday night game?
It was like
ago?
I forget which one it was.
Coliseum.
It was part of my take was talking about that one. I believe that was the one. It was like
because Goff was electric in that game. He looked like a top 5 quarterback in that game, and we basically never saw that guy again afterwards.
No, it's he waits too long to make his decisions, I think, and so that's part of it. Now they had 1 billion guys out last week. Mm-hmm. They still scored a million points, but they had 1 billion guys out last week. I think the Patriots defense is better than the Seahawks defense. I think the Patriots defense is much better than the Seahawks defense, so I think that helps the Patriots. Amon-Ra didn't practice yesterday or today. I'm sorry. DeAndre Swift didn't practice today. If those 2 guys are out, that's big news for the Patriots. Mm-hmm. The Lions, though, are an interesting team because they don't have we talk about Goff. He's meh, right? But their offensive line is disgusting. Yeah. It's really, really good. And it's a
lot easier for your quarterback when the line is like that.
Yeah. And so, and Jamal Williams is their backup running back. He's pretty good. He's good.
He's a good player.
And
you look at, so I was just looking through this rushing attack. They've had some really big games. They have games of 180, 81, 191, 139, and 145 yards on the ground. So holding them under 100 isn't happening. If you're holding them under 140, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, and that's kind of the threshold that you're looking for is like, hey, let's keep it under 140 or so. And then, you want to kind of dare them to pass because like you said, let Jared Goff make a mistake and throw an interception, but you also can't just allow them. You can't load the box, right? You do have to, play some defense and play some coverage. So, but if Amon-Ra doesn't play, he's been a beast. So if he doesn't play, that's good for the Patriots, right? So, Josh Reynolds doesn't really scare me. So they're not, and I was gonna say Kenny Golladay, but he's on the Giants now. He stinks so much, so it doesn't really
He
matter.
also
But
doesn't scare me.
but I was gonna say Kenny Golladay doesn't scare me. He doesn't, but he's on the Giants. So, but I do think that I think they have a good shot to win this game, regardless of who's at quarterback for the Patriots, because the Lions defense stinks. They stink. And I think that you're going to be able to throw the ball on them, and you're probably going to be able to run on them as well. So
Yeah, that's the
we'll
other
see.
thing about this Lions team. They have allowed more than 100 yards on the ground in 3 of the 4 games they've played this year, and they've allowed more than 200 on the ground twice. So
Yeah.
if you're a betting man, I'm probably betting the under on time for this game. Might be a
Yeah.
lot of rushes, not a lot of
Yeah.
passes. This might be over. What do you call it? This is the 1 o'clock game. This might be over by like 3:30, and you can go catch the end of the other games.
That'd be real nice. That'd be real nice for someone who's
You
going to
might
be
be,
at the game on
yeah,
Sunday. That'd be
you
real
might be
nice.
home by like 5, and
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's, and I think that might be the recipe for success, especially if Bailey Zappi's in there. I think when you go back and look at Zappy, and there's a little bit of mixed things from different people, and different things have said different people. I'm sorry, have said different things, but I thought Zappy was okay. I thought that there were some times, that third down play in overtime. That's going to be the one that people look at, right? He has Hunter Henry wide open across the middle. He's got time, and instead of making the throw, he bails out when he didn't have to. Right now, that should have been defensive holding. It was a clear defensive holding. I mean, Kendrick Bourne's shirt got pulled like 6 yards back. It was crazy.
saw that.
I don't know how they missed it, but they didn't call it. And so you had the play open. It was there. You didn't make the play, right? And so ultimately, that's what you have to live with, right? But it becomes one of those things where you just kind of look at it and say, like, all right, like, got to be better. And I think Zappy will be better this week. But he's a rookie. He's still a rookie. He's still going to take some bad plays. He took some bad sacks that you didn't want to see him take because he just, the clock wasn't ready yet, I think.
Yeah.
And that's
I
okay.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be ready this week, but
No.
he should be getting a full week here with the ones, which is going to help him out. And presumably they're going to design something for him a little bit based on how bad this Detroit run defense has been. I think you're going to primarily stick on the ground. I think you're going to go with a lot of what they did last week, and you're going to do that until it stops working, and then you're going to try it a couple more times to make sure it's not working, if it even gets to that point, because of how bad this Detroit defense has been against the run. But yeah, you're going to do that. I know this is the Detroit defensive coordinator who's come under a lot of flack too, so their defense might come out energized early because of that, and you got to be able to weather that a little bit. Try to get some early points like they did last week. They got an early field goal in that first drive. And I think playing with a lead is going to be huge for the offense too, because then you're not forced into. I mean,
You can run.
If Detroit scores a touchdown on the first drive and then the Pats come out and Zappe throws a pick 6, game might be over. Because if you're down 2 scores, Detroit's just going to run the ball all day long, and things get a lot harder. And now you feel like you have to throw the ball. You got to stay out of that. Throw incompletions. Don't throw picks. Like, throw it into the dirt and try to put him in a good position. And the other thing is, we saw this with Jacoby Brissett back in 2016. Short week, Thursday night football game, going up against a good Texans team. And they just devised a game plan for him. And there were some gimmicks, some new tricks that game, stuff you're not going to see with anybody else at quarterback. They managed to get enough done to win the game. Even if, the defense got 3, special teams got 3 turnovers in that one. So that helps you. That game was a shutout, 27-0. I don't know if you're going to get the same effort this time, but you just need those plays. Can you get chunk plays? Can you devise something easy for Zappe? It's going to get 25 yards. Or can you pull out the stuff in the playbook that he knows? Pull out the stuff in the playbook that's similar to what he did in college. Give him the stuff he's comfortable with. Keep it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate this. You're not going to I mean, first of all, you don't need to out scheme this Detroit defense. You just
Right.
need to out execute them. So give them the best chance to execute. Keep it simple. Keep it to the ground game and stuff and have 3 or 4 wrinkles. This is where you might want to break out a couple trick plays. Break one out in the opening drive so you can start and play with a lead. Break one out if you get down. Like, dig deep into that playbook if you're not confident in Zappy and get those plays that you need, because this is a winnable game. And this is a game where if it's December and you're 1 game out of the playoff spot and this is what keeps you out, you're going to be a little bit annoyed if you lost.
I would agree 100%, and that's, I will say, you talk about trick plays. The one for me that I'm waiting to see that we haven't seen yet, and we're only 4 games in, but the one that we haven't seen yet is they run that stupid sprint out. They run the guy. No, I'm sorry. They run the guy in motion, and they throw that quick little screen pass to them with the wide receivers blocking in front of them. And it's almost gotten picked off a few times. One of them was almost a pick six at home by Mac. And like, it just, at some point you have to run that exact play and fake it to that guy in the backfield. And then, one of the receivers blocking just takes off, and that's a touchdown, because everyone has seen that on film. Everyone has committed to that, that quick little pass right there. They see it coming. It's one of those where Mac ran it a few times and he didn't even look. He just turns and throws, right? They ran it on Kendrick Bourne on the 4th down play. They ran it at the goal line to I think it was Ramondre over there. That was almost a pick six. So like, that to me is like, just run that play, but then throw it over the top for a touchdown, right? And so I'm waiting to see that. They might wait a few more weeks to pull that out. I don't know, but you'd have to feel like that's coming at some point, because that's going to be wide open,
Yeah. And this is one of those games where if Jacoby Myers is playing, he's been at practice, right? He's just been
I believe so. He was limited today.
Yeah. If he's playing, maybe you break out the double pass this week with him. Or you think about, if the offensive line is playing well, you think about a flea flicker, breaking out one of those, or anything that's going to get the ball outside the numbers. I think you're going to see some RPOs.
Yeah.
You did that in college. And if you do that and you just can get some matchups you like, simplify the game. Like, just keep it to the stuff he knows. There's no, you're not throwing out the playbook, but don't use the stuff that you've been installing for Mac because you think Mac can do this West Coast offense stuff or Shanahan style stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappi played a spread offense. So give him a couple opportunities to spread the field, identify matchups. It's almost like early in Mac's career when they ran some no huddle and it worked well for Mac. You might see a little bit of that from Zappi.
Well, it's funny because I heard that Zappi, and I know it's 20 years later, so it's obviously time, sign of the times, but Zappi last year had more passing yards and more touchdowns than Brady had in his entire Michigan career. And I think Brady finished like 30 passing touchdowns, and Zappi had 62 last year. So like, he can sling it. He can sling it around. That's what he did when he was there. Like, just let him sling it, right? And so he's not used to playing in the pocket. And I do think being in the pocket can be helpful, especially when you have a strong running game, because the play action can work so well. And they haven't really been using the play action quite as much, certainly as I would hope them to have done so far. But at the same time, they've used it a little bit and they've had some success with it. So we'll see. But I do think that that they can use that to their benefit this week, and just let them chuck it. Like, you see some of the throws that he had this week. The throw to Aguilar is one that gets pointed out, where if that was a good throw, that's probably a touchdown. I think that's a rookie throw where he's looking at the guy underneath saying, I got to get it over his head, right? He's got tons of room to get it over his head. So he didn't want to throw it on a rope. He wanted to put some air under it. Didn't have to do that. And I think he's going to look at the film and say, yeah, no, like, trust myself, trust in my arm, trust in the QB skills that you have, and just get him the ball, right? And even the Parker touchdown, it was kind of like, oh my God, he's so wide open, just don't miss him. You know what I mean? Like, and so, I think he'll get better with time. And certainly he's thrust into a position that nobody expected him to be in. 0 people expected him to be starting, certainly this year, and maybe even ever, certainly for the Patriots. So, he's in a spot that no one really anticipated him being in. which is okay. That's all right. And he's responded okay week 1, and we'll see how he responds week 2. I think Bill's kind of playing the game where it's like, oh, is Matt going to start? Is Zappy going to start? Because we don't know who to expect, and so the game plan can't necessarily be against Zappy, but I do think that Zappy ends up being the one that gets start.
When I look at what they did at practice today, too, on Wednesday, and it's raining, and they always practice outdoors in the rain because Bill wants them to be
Yeah.
exposed to that for when they need to be. Nope, they're coming indoors and they're doing just a walkthrough. That to me says everything you need to know about who's going to be starting on Sunday, because they want to make sure Zappy's ready. He's a guy who's
Yeah.
barely been getting reps. Here's your reps. Here, we're going to give you one day where we're installing everything that's for you. And part of that's probably for the backup they signed, Gary Gilbert, there,
Yeah. Yep.
so that he can learn a little bit of this too, because
That's
he's
true.
coming back into this.
And he's going
But
to be the guy. He's going to be the backup on Sunday. So
exactly, God, for if Isaiah Wynn decides to turn into a turnstile again on Sunday, then hopefully, yeah.
yeah,
But it's one of those where I think they're designing something for him. I also, if they have any like direct snap plays in there to running backs or to Jacoby Myers or some trick plays like that, this is the week where you break it out. If you have any trick plays for the red zone too, this is
right.
one of those games where you're at the 3-yard line and you need that weird play. You think you can only break out once or twice this season that might get you a touchdown and might cause something weird.
Might be it.
This is one of those weeks where I think you want to break it out.
Yeah.
Remember, Jacoby had a 27-yard rushing touchdown against the Texans, and we never saw that play again until Cam came in. Like,
Yeah.
it's those one-offs that in a game like this can be huge.
Right. Right. And that's really what you want to see. And so, we'll see what ends up happening there. I will say, you mentioned the Isaiah Wynn thing. I wonder if Cannon doesn't get the start at right tackle. I know Cannon has struggled with the pass, but so hasn't Isaiah Wynn. So and Wynn's actually been a pretty good run blocker, but Cannon is still a very, very good run blocker. So,
this is
I don't know.
Well, this is another thing I think you could think about for Sunday. Looks like Jonnu is going to miss a little bit of time with that low ankle sprain.
Right.
If that's the case, Hunter Henry, not that great of a blocker, just play 6 offensive linemen for huge sections of the game.
Yeah.
The Lions don't have a good run defense. Patriots are good at run blocking, especially with all those extra guys in there. Gets the ball out of Zappy's hands and take down that clock. I think both teams are looking to take down that clock a little bit and shorten the game. The more that the Patriots can do it, then I mean, you're making the sample size smaller by shortening the game. So one or two big plays can change it. And I like the odds of the Pats getting a big play against Jared Goff. I think the Lions probably like their odds of getting a big play against Bailey Zappi. So it's going to be that and which team can defend the run better. Both teams' game plans are going to be stop the run and force the quarterback to make a mistake. Bailey Zappi is probably worse than Jared Goff is. I trust the Patriots coaching staff more. I don't trust the Patriots run defense at all at the moment after the last 2 weeks. So.
No, and I don't blame you for that. And Lawrence Guy seems like he's trending towards being back this week. He was limited participant today, so it seems like okay, maybe he'll be back out there. And if Lawrence Guy plays, that certainly helps your run defense. But I think that's why you saw Jamie Collins come back, because Mac Wilson, he's flashed a little bit with his athleticism, but he cannot play the run. He gets absolutely murdered by those offensive linemen in there. And Raekwon McMillan's been fine, but he hasn't really been impressive, right? And
we haven't really seen him play defense since week 1.
Yeah, that's true too.
Which I think that says a lot about what they think.
Tells you all you need to know, because Mac Wilson's getting killed out there, and instead they're bringing in Jamie Collins. So, that's a little worrisome when you think about McMillan. I think Penny Jennings has done a decent job on the edge.
I thought he looked good. Their best linebacker group right now, if you got 4 guys out there, is going to be Bentley and Tavea as your inside linebackers, and Jennings and Judon on the edges. Which I think Tavea has been pretty good this year. I have been pleasant every time I turn on the tape. It's you made a pretty good play there. Oh, made a good play.
Kills me to say it. Kills me to say it. It kills me to say it.
Also say he's a surprisingly good blitzer. He has really heavy hands, so he just forces guys back when he blitzes, which is nice. I think Mac Wilson's a good blitzer too. So I think they're both about as good. Wilson had a play. I know Andrew Callahan talked about it at one point, and then I posted something on my Twitter about it, where the Packers ran like that jet motion, had the receiver coming across at the handoff, and Judon goes to take the receiver coming across, and Mac Wilson goes through that motion too. So they hand it off to Aaron Jones, and it goes up the middle, and Wilson recognizes it, comes back, makes contact with Aaron Jones 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, and is not able to bring him down for another 15 yards.
Yeah.
And gets a face mask in the process.
Right.
It's a 30 yards right
there. It was
there.
an awful play.
By EPA added, it was like 2.4 EPA added. That was like almost a field goal worth of value from that one play. And he barely saw the field after that. And
that's one of those ones where it was just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, you can't make the tackle. And then to make it worse, like you say, you grab his face mask. So I think they just said, we've seen enough. And Tavea, like, I hate to admit it, but he's been pretty good. He's not. What's crazy about it is that, you wanted like something special. You thought you maybe had something special with these linebackers that were, quick and fast and change the game.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you don't. Maybe you just don't, right? And listen, maybe Tavea doesn't play when you play the Bills because you don't really need it because the Bills can't run the ball, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe he doesn't play because you're worried about the speed, right? Maybe he doesn't play a lot against the Dolphins because you're worried about the speed and they can't run. But when you play teams that can run, like the Lions can and like the Packers can, he's got to be on the field because you have to have guys that can stop the run, right? And so, like, and so that's kind of what it comes down to. And I think that's kind of where Jamie Collins fits in too, because Jamie Collins is fourth time here, right? But it's like, he's just a big guy that can play against the run, and he's kind of a dummy sometimes, and he does stupid things, and he's not the best player, but like, at least you know what you're going to get for the most part from him. So it's been a frustrating year for those linebackers. So that's something that.
Yeah, I think Jamie Collins is going to look good in that 99 jersey too. So I'll start with the 91, now then 58, now with 99. That's a good number for him.
Yeah, and he wore it. Didn't he have a single digit? Did he have a single digit one?
Not in New England. He may have when he was in Detroit. I think he wore 8 in Detroit. I think he wore 8 in college.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So yeah, he's done that.
He was 91, and he wore 50, 58 both 50. Times. Or did he wear 50?
He wore 58.
So both times he was back. Both his 2 seconds, second and third stint.
58.
But
yeah, I think the real linebacker we added along the way in all of this was actually Jabril Peppers. That's the best guy we added who can do that.
He's been awesome.
He's about the same size as Mac Wilson, and he can play a linebacker and also drop deep as a free safety.
Yeah,
so
he's been awesome.
Blitz.
And Phillips, dude, that play last week with Phillips. Yeah, that play last week with Phillips when he just absolutely just manhandled Aaron Jones and then got to Aaron Rodgers, saved a touchdown because Jack Jones, guessed wrong and gave up, free release basically for a touchdown to Lazard, and he couldn't get it to him because Adrian Phillips is in his lap. So, really nice. yeah, that was real nice. So it was one of those things. So, but I will say, go ahead.
No, it's just the linebacker stuff. This is the way Bill likes to do it. If you're going to be on the field as a linebacker, we want you to be able to stop the run and blitz, because if we want somebody who could stop the pass, we'll just put another safety in there.
Right.
Any safety is going to be a better pass defender than just about any linebacker.
That's correct. Especially the safeties the Patriots have.
Yeah, that's why they have 4 of them, because you can get all 4 on the field at the same time and play 2 of them at linebacker.
Right. And
5 of them if you're including Joshua Bledsoe.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I will say, I've had enough of the Miles Bryant era, right? I really have. I was very vocal about Marcus Jones being the kick and punt returner. I think that worked out pretty well. Now, it's only one game, but I think that worked out pretty well, right? With him having a 20 and a 29-yard punt return. He's electric back there. And, and then you see Miles Bryant trying to cover these guys in the slot. And I know it's Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb is a veteran receiver, and it's difficult to stay with him because he's just so smart and does. But it's like, man, at some point you got to be able to make a play. And Miles Bryant just doesn't make a play, right? And so that's the thing for me that's so frustrating. Is like, just make a play, man, and he just doesn't. And so that's like, I just feel like, okay, he's fine, but he's not consistent. He's not consistently stopping anyone, So
Yeah,
why not put someone in there that has the ability or the potential to like actually make a big play, right? And so to me, I'm ready for him to get replaced at corner as well. It's already been replaced at punt return and kick return, and let's put him back. Let's take him out at
yeah.
slot corner too. I'm all set.
Yeah, I'd like to see what they have in Marcus Jones there. I also think when healthy, their best three corner lineup is probably Jalen Mills, Jack Jones, and Jonathan Jones.
I agree.
So I would because I think all three of those guys could play in the slot if needed too. Which
Right.
I think that last game, I mean Randall Cobb is a better receiver than Miles Bryant anyway, and he's bigger. I think that really works in his advantage there. He's a really good route technician. The guy
Mhm.
you want on him there is probably Jonathan Jones in that situation. And the
Right.
other part of this too is that two of those big plays to him over Miles Bryant. Miles Bryant didn't really do anything wrong. Aaron
No.
Rodgers is just a sicko who can put
Yeah.
balls where most guys can't, and
Yeah.
he's going to make a couple of those throws, and you got to live with it sometimes. Like,
Yep. It's true. It's true. It's true. And so, so we'll see. I mean, ultimately, it's not the end of the world. They're not winning and losing games because they have Miles Bryant in slot corner. Like that's not the
yeah,
case. So
he,
I would like
and
to see
he's
what
a,
we have in some of the young guys, though.
yeah, he's a fine player. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just fine. Like,
Right.
so it is if Marcus Jones can't get jump him on the depth chart at corner by the end of the season, I think there'll be cause for a little bit of concern about what he can do at corner because Miles Bryant is fine, but if you can't ever show upside over him to where the coaches want to see what you can do on the field, then
Yeah.
something's up.
Right.
Which I
Exactly.
think if Marcus Jones is consistently as good as he was on Sunday in the special teams game, he might be worth the draft pick on that alone
Well,
because
that's true.
he can
Yeah, that's
the
true.
way he can shift the field. He's averaging like 25 yards a punt return right now.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
that was one of those things where it's like you saw it. I think it was the second one where he went down the right sideline and he just exploded. I mean, he caught it, he kind of took a step or two, and then he just like zoom, and you're like, whoa, okay. And he just accelerated past everyone. Matter of fact, I think he was going so fast he like lost his balance a little bit as he was heading towards the sound, and probably could have picked up a few more yards. But like he has that like game changing speed, but not just speed, like acceleration and quickness
yeah.
that
And
you see some of
vision
these
too.
great punt returners have. Yes. Yep. And so that's this type of stuff where it's like, he keeps doing that, and pretty soon teams are going to have to kick away from him, which is an advantage in and of itself because the punter goes back there and is worried about, kicking the ball away from the punt return. And now he's in his own head thinking about, okay, I can't kick it to him. I got to try to figure out. And then, you get a shank or two, and that changes
Yeah.
field position anyway. So
Yeah. And if you get
I think that's
yeah,
a good thing.
if you can get a score on defense or a score in special teams,
Mm-hmm.
that'll always help you shift the game. I think he's more than capable of doing that. And if you shorten the field, we know this offense has kind of had issues at points with moving the ball or at points with big conversions or stuff like that. Well, if you're starting the ball at the 50-yard line, things get a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah,
They're already pretty good at field position this year. They're one of the better teams. So the better that can be, the easier it is on your young quarterback and on your offensive line and on your defense as well.
I
Because
agree.
now, if the offense stalls, you're punting from the 40. If you're deciding to punt, and the offense is not, they're starting from their own 10 or maybe worse, and then now your defense has more room to make plays and more room to make a stop. And if you force them to punt again, now a 25-yard return, and you're right back where you were, and all kinds of good stuff comes
Yeah,
from that.
I agree. All right, two more questions for you that I have, and then we'll get into our last segment. But
Okay.
The first question I have for you is about Belichick not being super, and Belichick kind of always hasn't been super aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you saw it this year in the Packers game. You saw the same exact thing last year in the Cowboys game where the Cowboys get the ball to start, you stop them, you get the ball back, you get to midfield, you don't go for it on fourth down. The same exact thing happens in the Packers game. The Packers get the ball, they don't score, you get a stop, you get the ball to midfield, and you punt on 4th and 5. And then in both instances, you give up a score on the ensuing drive and you lose the game. And I just think I don't understand. I understand from the point of view that it's a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bailey Zappi, they were expecting a lot less than they were Mac Jones last year, but it's still a rookie quarterback. And I get playing the field position angle of it. But with the fact that overtime is only 10 minutes long, they had like 4.5 minutes left to go in overtime. Like it just kind of seemed like, what are we doing here? Like if you can't pick up the first down, all right, you lose. Are you playing for a tie? Like I don't understand what we're doing. Like
Well, I
so
want to.
that one was very, very curious to me. And I'm curious about your thought about them playing so conservatively.
Well, first of all, I take issue with the idea of Bill Belichick ever playing for a tie. That man has 24 years, 28. I forget how many years he's been a head coach. Never tied a game, not
Yes,
once.
that's correct.
So it's just not. It's not going to be in his thing. I think he very firmly believes in his defense and in his special teams and in what they can do. And I think he also knows the limits of his offense.
Mhm.
So I go back to that Dallas game last year. The Patriots actually started with the ball in overtime. Dallas
Oh, you're
didn't.
right. You're right.
Yeah. And they were short of midfield. So it was 4th and 3 when they decided to punt the ball away. But they
Yeah,
were
but they were
on
at like
their
the
own side.
47 or something like that, weren't they?
46. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure if I agree with that decision. But at the same time, in overtime on the own side of your field, Dallas is, if you don't get that, Dallas might not even need to get a first down, and
I
they got a
get it.
chance
Yeah,
to kick to
10
win the
yards
game.
or so. I get it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what I would have done, but I get it. And then the one on this Sunday, I totally get it. And I think part of this has to do with the quarterback you have. The playbook
Right.
gets so small once Zappy is in there, and the offense, I think, it kind of stalled a little bit. And I think there was recognition there that, hey, he had a chance to make a play on 3rd down, didn't make the play.
Yep.
We look at where we are. Defense has gotten back-to-back stops and has gotten a couple 3-and-outs, forced some turnovers in this game. We've seen our punt returner get 20 yards both times he's returned it. So let's punt and take our
See what
chances
happens.
because
Yeah.
we're probably not getting 5 yards here. And we might get a stop and a punt return into field goal range, and we don't even need the offense. We'll just send the kicker out there.
Which
And
is true. Yeah, which is true. I thought the
yeah,
defense they played was so bad. Like on that
it
last
was.
drive, they're playing 8 yards off the receiver and they're just throwing quick passes and picking up yards. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like that
Well,
was
and
crazy.
I think you're playing to make sure you don't get beat over the top there. And Aaron Rodgers is really good and
Right, but
recognizes what he's doing.
they were almost in field goal range. I mean, they
Yeah.
crossed
Well, that's-
midfield and you're still giving them 8 yards of cushion. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah. What happened last year was Dallas got right to the edge of field goal range. You then broke one loose for the touchdown. So I
Right.
think you're trying to avoid that, force the field goal attempt at least, because then you can block it, or then you can hope he misses it.
Right.
If the guy gets free into the end zone. But I think at the end of the day, these decisions that we're agonizing over, they're probably close to 50-50 decisions.
I agree.
They're not,
Yeah, I agree.
They're not more than 60-40 in either direction. And at that point, I don't think there's a wrong decision. What matters is that the players execute what it is. And obviously, no coach is going to ever throw their players under the bus. But even if you disagree with what Bill is doing here, the players absolutely still have a chance to win the game, and a pretty good chance.
Mhm.
Some of like the EPA per play metrics or whatever suggest the Patriots were basically in the same position on 4th and 5 from the Green Bay territory at the when they punted the ball away, as the Packers were like 2 plays later when they only picked up 3 yards on 1st down.
Yeah.
It's basically the same position.
Right.
So sometimes at some point the players do actually have to make plays.
Yep.
I mean, it's all theory, it's all academic until this starts happening, and Packers have good players who made plays.
Yep. It's true.
Some people look at that game and say, hey, that was a winnable game that got away. And I think there's an argument for that. I also think there's a pretty good argument for they made a lot of plays to make that game close. And sometimes you just run out of the magic and the other team was better than you the whole time. And you see it happen in March Madness all the time.
It's true.
Where it's a 16 seed against the 1 and they're up at halftime and they're up with 10 minutes left and you're looking around. And then the next thing you know, the 1 seed has a 20-point lead. You're like, what just happened? Like,
right.
It just happens sometimes.
Just ran out of the way. Well, and listen, we went to the game. We said, just make it close. Just be competitive, right? I didn't think they were going to win. And the fact they were in it shows me a lot about the team and shows me that there is some potential there with some of these players. So overall, if it's hard to find too much fault with what they did on Sunday. So
no, and you can. I'll very quickly here. I'll pull from history too.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to 2001. The Pats played the Rams in that regular season, and they lost that game at home. And it was to talk about like a moral victory that they played close. No, they played them, learned about themselves, learned what they could do better, got a little bit of a confidence boost from saying, "Hey, we played with these guys. We know we can do it. If we get a chance to do it again," and you go on to the next game. So I think there's probably a little bit of that. I don't like all this talk about like, oh, is it like a moral victory or not for the fans, or like, I don't know. I'm sure these players are human beings. I'm sure they
Yeah.
go, hey, I'm glad. Like, I'm sure Jack Jones is out there thinking, for as cocky as he is on the outside, I'm sure he's thinking, hey, I picked off Aaron Rodgers. I did that.
Yeah.
I can be here in the NFL. Sure, all those guys, Devontae Parker getting a touchdown. Like, these guys are building confidence, playing together, and they can play against a team that's probably going to win that division. So,
Right.
bring that to the next game. Bring that to
Exactly.
this week. Bring that
Exactly.
to Cleveland next week.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And so, so we'll see. But all right, one last one for you before we get to our last segment here. This game, Patriots minus 2.5 against the Lions. Are you betting the Patriots or the Lions at minus 2 point? Patriots giving up 2.5 points.
Anytime that it's under like 3 points, I'm just not even really caring about the points. I'm thinking about who's going to win.
Right.
In this situation, when it's that close and the Pats are at home, I'm going to take the Pats. This is a toss-up game in my eyes because, like, if you look at the metrics, these teams are just about equal and like an EPA per play margin and all the advanced stuff, even though the Lions are way off in their own corner with their awful, awful defense and amazing offense. It's a toss-up. I'll take the Pats because I'm a Pats fan. Yeah, probably not good to bet with your heart, which is why I don't usually bet on Patriots games.
Correct. Yes.
Can I know we have our weird like history thing. Can I throw in another weird actor before we do
Wait,
that?
hold on. Before you do that, over under 46.5. Going over or under?
See, the logic tells you under because there's probably not going to be a lot of possessions and probably a lot more field goals than touchdowns. But that under still feels a little bit low to me. I might take the over because I think we might get some defensive scores here.
Well, and the Lions are averaging 35 points a game and giving up 35.3. So on average, the average game for the Lions has been 70 points, which is insane. I mean, that's crazy. That can't possibly stay the rest of the season. But that's been the average game so far for the Lions this year.
I think I'm taking the over on that.
Yeah, I think, but I will tell you, I would not be shocked at all if we ended up with the under and it was like 17-14 and everyone's like, what in the world happened here? So could be one of those like NFL red zone, like, people that are watching the red zone never see it because it just never pops up because there's no big scores,
Or it could be like 15-12, just all field goals.
Yeah, something stupid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's your fact that you got?
This is the third time now that the Pats have brought out the throwbacks against the Lions.
That's right. They did it 2010, right? On Thanksgiving.
They have done it every chance that they've had the opportunity to with the red jerseys because they played them in 2018, didn't have them then. Played them in 2014, didn't have them then. 2010, they did have them, and then 2002 is when they did it for Thanksgiving back then, and we saw them for that one-off game and no other time around then. So I don't really know much about the history of that one. Why they happen to have the jerseys? Probably because
that one's strange.
Thanksgiving.
Must have been, and I know the 2010 game was on Thanksgiving as well. So
yeah, but they have essentially, I think, exclusively worn the red throwbacks against either NFC North teams or AFC East teams.
Yeah, because they did it against the Packers too. Yeah.
No, not the Vikings.
They did it against the Packers. Oh my God, that must have been years ago. They
that
did
might be
back when like Favre was playing quarterback still for them.
Was this 96 when they did the 75th anniversary throwbacks?
Might have been. Yeah, might have been.
Because here's the other thing. There are also two different versions of the red throwback jersey. The red throwbacks that they wore in 2009 for the AFL are different from the ones they're wearing now. They're similar.
Yep, you're right.
Inspired by similar, but like I think the ones they're inspired by are like 10 or 15 years apart in when they wore them.
Yeah, true.
These are the ones they wore in the 80s. The other ones are the ones they wore in the 60s.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. So there's your little factoid about throwback jerseys. But all right, let's get into our final segment. I think that's all we got for the Patriots game. Listen, should be a high scoring game. They should win, right? Mm-hmm. They come out of this game 2-3, and we're feeling okay about where we are, right? And we'll see, of course, but they got some winnable games coming ahead, right? As we talked
Mhm.
about. You got the Lions, then you get the Browns, then you get the Bears, then you get the Jets. These next four are winnable games even without Mac Jones. And so you want to think that they have a chance at least to win some of these games. So we'll see. Long way to go, but
Stack
we're hopeful.
performances, put some stuff together.
Exactly. So, all right, here we go.
And now for something we think you'll really like. This week in sports history.
All right. So you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I have two. I can get these out quickly. They're both recent ones.
All right. We want to go. Why don't you give one, and then I'll give one, and then you give one, and then I'll give one, because I got two as well.
One of these is has a little bit of uniform history with it too. Today is Thursday, or not Thursday, Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. I was reading the date in front of me instead. This is the anniversary of the Patriots Buccaneers Thursday night game back in 2017. That was back when the color rush was still a thing. So that's like
they were the all whites, right?
The lone game in the Brady era where they went all white without wearing throwback uniforms, because they did that in Denver that one time. But yeah, they went down there, and that really, really weird game. Pats kicked 3 field goals. The final score was 19-14. Pats kicked
it was a bizarre game.
Four field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Bucks had a touchdown late, which their kicker for that game was Nick Folk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that was that one made the Pats 3-2. That was just not a fun game.
No, it wasn't. No, I was trying to get down to that game, and my wife had training for something in Barcelona, so she was away for the weekend. And my kids were really little. My little guy was only a year at that point. We didn't want to be gone. Yeah. Both a plane ride away, so I ended up not going. But so I missed out on that game. But I almost went to that game. I almost did it. So
Pats had over 100 yards worth of penalties, 2 turnovers, less yards than Tampa, less first downs than Tampa, and still won the game.
It was a terrible game. Yeah, it was a bizarre game. So, mine is from October 5th, 1964. And that's Gino Cappelletti. Gino Cappelletti goes 6 for 6 on field goals and 3 for 3 on PATs. And the Patriots win 39-10 versus the Broncos in Denver in 1964.
Wow. That's a good one that you pulled out right there.
Yeah,
I like that one.
All right, what do you got? What's your second one?
Legendary path there. A much more fun game that we're also on the anniversary of today. October 5th is the anniversary of the We Are On to Cincinnati game. 43-17 win over the Bengals. Stephen Ridley scored the opening touchdown in that one. I actually just saw he's going to be down in the Bayou for LSU as one of their captains this Saturday for their game against Tennessee. Yeah. So he's coming back out. I remember his celebration breaking down the door very fondly.
Yes.
I think that's one of my favorite
thing and then kick it. Yeah, that was cool.
That's one of my favorite touchdown celebrations of that era. And then I think he tore his ACL the next week after that game. And he was basically
was that when he fumbled, right? He fumbled and they picked it up and ran it back for touchdown when he tore his ACL, I believe, right?
Something like that. Well, there was I know there was the one where he got knocked out against
there was
Baltimore.
A concussion that they recovered. That's right. Yes.
But that may have also happened in that Buffalo game because 2014 was the year he fixed this fumble problem, plays 5.5 games, and tears his ACL.
Right. Yeah.
Really. Stephen Ridley was actually one of my favorite players for
a good player.
I liked watching him play.
Yeah.
All right, what's your last one here?
My last one is from October 4th. And by the way, I think the Geno one may have been October 4th as well. But either way, it's either October 4th or October 5th. But this one's October 4th, 1873. The Toronto Argonauts Football Club forms as the Argonaut Rowing Club Rugby Football Squad. It is the oldest existing pro sports team in North America that's still using its original name. The Toronto Argonauts, the oldest existing pro sports team in North America, still using its original name, 1873.
That's incredible.
So, been around for a long time.
Yeah. I
So,
don't watch much CFL, so I can't really
Me
give you
neither.
any context on that. Maybe we should watch
Not
it.
that Doug Flutie. Now that Doug Flutie's gone, I don't
Maybe
watch.
we
I don't
can.
watch him.
This could be a CFL podcast on like our odd days if we want.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
But I
one
mean, you
day a
never
week
know.
in the CFL.
You never know. Who knows when the CFL even takes place? I don't even know. Does it take place
Yeah.
during the NFL season or in the summer? I don't know. I have no clue. So,
No clue.
and you know what? I don't really care to find out, if I'm being completely
No.
honest with you.
Bring back arena football. That's what we want.
Exactly. Yes, let's do it. So, why not? So it can't be worse than the XFL, right? But anyways, all right, that's all we got, I think, today. So we'll be back Sunday at some point Sunday afternoon. I'll be at the game, so sometime after the game, we'll be back on here talking about the game, and then we'll go from there. So
a note for our viewers too. I believe this is a Fox game, not a CBS one.
That's
NFC
correct.
team coming to town, so they're on Fox.
That is correct. Yes, and you get like the D squad on Fox as well. So no more A squad like last week with Tony Romo.
It's Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma. So they got this week.
Jonathan Vilma, really?
I didn't know he was
in the
broadcasting.
booth now.
Yeah.
No idea. So, but Saints legend Jonathan Vilma. So
yeah, I always liked him growing up.
Good player.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it, and we will